You are welcome to another Nigerian political appraiser. The North is finally in serious division. This after the Middle Belt have come out clearly to emphasize that they prefer to work with the southern part of the country and even renounce northern hegemony, renounce the Sokoto Caliphate. In a surprise video we are going to watch, it is becoming very clear that come 2027, that the trajectory of voting pattern in the North is going to change for the first time. And I think this is perhaps because of the style of politics of the man, Tinubu, who for obvious reasons have succeeded in making the Middle Belt see themselves as a different identity other than what they used to be. But for me, I want to say that this awareness that is coming is like double jeopardy for the power bloc in the North. Talking about the Fulani hegemony. Because apart from this Middle Belt that is already saying that they prefer to work with the southern part of the country, you recall that currently we have seen a good number of Hausa advocates who have already started distancing themselves from the Fulanis. A good number of them, I must tell you. But in this way you are going to watch shortly, after watching it, you are going to have a rethink about what we are going to experience come 2027 presidential election. Because the normal trajectory of voting pattern in the North is going to be altered for the first time in the history of Nigerian political landscape. Let me say that personally, I'm not under any illusion about the Middle Belt having their own identity, the Hausas having their own identity, and of course the Fulanis having their own identity ab initio. But somehow, along the line, the Fulanis were able to totally subjugate the entire North. To the point that even in the Middle Belt, as we speak, areas that ordinarily should not have emir, have emirs. And of course, the man you are going to listen to echo that at some point. And if you even look at even Kwara State, that is even supposed to be a natural Yoruba land, you have emir there. But I want to say that with the current situation, the voting pattern of 2027 is going to change dramatically. Because this politics of the North that used to follow elite capture, macro level control, a situation where once you get the elites, talking about the normal Fulani hegemony, the power bloc, the direct every other person in the North to follow that trajectory, I don't think it's going to work this time around. Seeing that the Hausas are breaking away and the Middle Belt are equally breaking away. And in all of this, their pledge is to work with the southern part of the country. So I want to say that the way it is, Atiku is not just losing base in the south or support in the south. He's equally losing from the north that is supposed to be his major stronghold. When you look at the politics Atiku played in the last concluded Osun election, you understand that he shot himself in the foot. By having a candidate where he's not supposed to have candidate, where he's supposed to synergize and work with the incumbent governor, Ademola Adeleke, who of course, for obvious reasons, helped to deliver vote for him in the last 2023 presidential election. But unfortunately, he decided to make ADC a half candidate. And as it stands, Tinubu is even the greater beneficiary of the situation in Osun State. Even as the governor have come out openly to reaffirm his endorsement of Tinubu for the purpose of 2027 presidential election. But let us listen to the man in question as we come back to further this conversation.
That monolithic north is dead and buried. The colonial masters, when they came, realized that there were areas that were now controlled by the caliphate, neither by the Sultanate of Borno, and those areas were considered as occupying the Middle Belt area. In fact, a longitude has been demarcated, and if you go visit the Willings Commission report and look at the Willings Commission map, you will see the area called the Middle Belt. Not only that, the Willings Commission went around between 1957 and 58, conversing with Middle Belters from Zuru area in southern part of Kebbi, southern part of Kaduna, had sittings in Jos. In the northeast, where Babachir comes or hails from, they had sittings at Numan. So all these things have been documented. To to converse with the northern minorities as to whether or not a region should be created for the Middle Belters. It was the Willings Commission who told the Middle Belters at that time that you belong or occupy the Middle Belt area of the North, and that's how the Middle Belt thing came about. Of course, the agitators at that time had a different name, but of course they ended up as Middle Belt. Now, if people migrated to occupy some people's land, it doesn't change the demography. The original people are still there, they are Middle Belters, and we call ourselves Middle Belters. And that is who we are. Now, the North, the British wanted the North to remain monolithic for some reason. They wanted it because they wanted to hand over power to the North. And they used Middle Belters to beef up the population of the North before independence. And though before independence, if you look at the population, go back to history, all these things are there, you can Google and see. The Southeast and Bamenda had the highest population, followed by the Southwest and the North, that is including the Middle Belt, had the third population in terms of numerical strength. However, the British wanted to hand over to the North and therefore denied the Middle Belters a region for themselves. Though after independence, the southern minorities were given Midwestern region for also political consideration, which now we know as used just to whittle down the strength of the Southwest. All the same, we who consider ourselves Middle Belters, going down history and memory lane, are saying we are not Northerners, we are Middle Belters. And the North has always considered us that way anyway. When it comes to such consideration as North, they say all of us as North. But when it comes to appointments and other considerations, they don't consider us as North. So why should this hypocrisy continue? Let them just say, we are Middle Belters, they are Northerners. Let everybody be who he is. We are not ashamed of being Middle Belters, because we are proud of our history, of our ancestry, and our motto is our land, our people, our heritage. So we are not ashamed of who we are. So let the North play its game as Northerners. We Middle Belters will play ours as Middle Belters. What we are saying as true Nigerians, as aborigines of Nigeria, we are saying let's allow the presidency to move to the south. If it wouldn't move, let it stay in the Middle Belt, because the North doesn't consider us as part of the North anyway. South, Middle Belt Forum is partnering with groups in the South, because we've realized that our northern brothers, there are two different words. Our northern brothers, who we have stayed together, have continued to use us for their own purposes. But when it comes to sharing the cake, we are not part of it. So, we have been partners. We forged this partnership recently, and we believe that, yes, we have so many things in common with the southern partners. But after the British handed over power to the North, and the North continued to play a dominant role, whether it was within the military or within civilian administration in the polity and politics of Nigeria, we in the Middle Belt felt, look, we cannot remain second class or second fiddle in this game. We have to assert ourselves. The founders of the Middle Belt movement in the 50s also did something similar. They realized, yes, we are not part of the northern hegemony, we are not part of the caliphate, but we have to assert ourselves in where we found ourselves. Why? Because the British, through indirect rule, brought these nationalities in the north under some system which was alien to us, to the extent that some of our traditional titles had to change. Some traditional titles which had traditional names had to change to either Emir or Emirate or whatever because of the dominant North. while the people in that emirate are either traditional worshippers or Christians. So all these are distortions created through the indirect rule foisted on us by the British. So today we are saying, look, enough is enough. You can't continue to remain docile in the same position all the time. You see a better position, you move to that better position. And because of that, we believe a better position now is partnering with people in the South, so that we can forge a better Nigeria where every Nigerian will have equal status as Nigerians, not some Nigerians dictating to others.
For me, it's becoming clear, because before now we have seen a good number of House advocates who have come out clearly to emphasize that it's not going to be business as usual. That for them to vote for you, you must be able to prove that you have the interests of the Hausas at heart. And we are talking about game of number. Osun State have proven that the power actually and truly belongs to the people. In spite of all the effort from some power bloc that want to take Osun by force, the people stood and they conquered. So if that is the template that we are taking it into 2027, it's going to show that the Hausa communities that are currently saying they are no longer going the way of previous pattern in the north. That anyone that do not have the interest of the Hausa at heart will not get their support and their votes. And knowing that the Hausas have more population than the Fulanis, because I'm talking of a people, according to Wikipedia, that is over 60 million people as against the 15 million that the Fulani has. So what does it mean for the forthcoming election of 2027? It implies that the man, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who is of Fulani extraction and who is from the north, will not inherit the vote as they not normally follow that trajectory. Because for all we have seen, if the middle belt is already aligning with the south, and not just the middle belt, we have seen Hausas already speaking against the power blocks in the north. And in all of this, they are pledging allegiance to the south, already forming an alliance with the south. So it then goes to show that all the southern candidates who are able to position themselves and do a proper alliance will benefit immensely from this new opinion from the north, particularly the middle belt and from Hausa communities. Talking about the President Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu and P2B of NDC, because these are two major candidates from the southern part of the country. But if you are looking at this forthcoming 2027 presidential election as a person about the view that the South should be allowed to complete their 8 years in office. They not haven't done their 8 years under, of course, Muhammadu Buhari. So that is my own point of view. And I actually believe that that is a popular opinion in the southern part of the country. That's why at times I look at how will an article make inroad into the south. Even as the north is already polarized, and the majority of the northern stakeholders have the view that the south should complete their 8 years in office. Because the popular opinion in the south is that the south should be allowed to complete their 8 years. That the tacit agreement that says if they not govern for 8 years, the south have to govern for 8 years should be respected. So in the spirit of respecting that tacit agreement, how then can Atiku come to get vote in the southern part of the country? More so, as we have seen the excesses of the Fulani herdsmen in every strata of the society. So who will now want to trust another Fulani man with authority, with power at this critical time when we are trying to solve the problem that the Fulani bandits, militaries, pose to every society, every state in Nigeria? As we speak, the government is making move to establish state police. as a way of solving the problem. And even as we speak, the issue of terrorism, banditry that was hitherto restricted to the northern part of the country is already spreading fast to the southern part of the country. And currently, no state is immune against the excesses and high-handedness of the Fulani militias. So the question now is, even the Fulanis, talking about the political class, need to, of course, start talking to their people to stop all this violence. Because otherwise, the people of the country, other tribe, will not want to trust them with power. Because under the last administration of Muhammad Buhari, we saw all the efforts that government made to see whether he could settle the Fulani. In what looked like trying to find or look for solution to the crisis. All the solutions we were seeing that were coming from the federal government were like trying to cover space for the Fulani. From the issue of Ruga, which was later translated to mean Fulani settlement, the water resources bill, even with the attempt to recover grazing routes, grazing reserves, all were in an attempt to cover space for the Fulani. So with the current situation, I want to say that ranching is the way to go. But the problem is, if you say you want to go about ranching, because of this trust deficits, no state in the south, let me not talk about the north, but let me say no state in the south and some states in the middle belt will be willing and ready to cede land for ranching. And the reason is not far-fetched. Because there's a general perception, that any inch you give to the Fulani, they will always want to expand and dominate. Particularly judging by how they totally subjugated the North. Because these are people who came into this part of the world in sometime 14th century. Of course, the last people to come into this part of the world. And before you knew it, they established the Sokoto Caliphate, from where they expanded across the nook and cranny of the northern Nigeria. To the point that even in a Kwara state, in Lorry to be precise, a once Yoruba community was taken over by the Fulanis, and currently we have an emir there. Listeners going into the story of Janta, Alimi, and Afonja that gave rise to that, their, of course, dominance in the monarchical system of government in Ilorin. But that still exists up to today. So for the people to have the confidence to give out land for ranching, there must be assurances from the people that they do not hope to dominate those who host them. More so as the issue of terrorism, banditry is not stopping, and the government is currently looking for means to stop it. So for me, the political class among the Fulanis should find a way of talking to their people to embrace peace. That is why at times, if you look at the one that always comes from Shegumi, personally, what the likes of Shegumi should be doing is to prevail on his people to drop arms, not telling federal government to negotiate with them, because in the first instance, the federal government did not instigate any violence against them. And comparing them with the Niger Delta militants is a misnomer. Because the time we had the issue of militants in the Niger Delta, it was very clear. What they were fighting for was very clear. The reason they started the struggle was very clear. Well, even as we speak today, Ogun is perhaps the most polluted place in the whole world. So they were actually fighting against injustice meted to the region by the authorities. Because if you look at the level of oil degradation in the environment, you understand that the fight was a justified one. That is not to say that they were not they were actually some level of criminality associated with the struggle, but the whole idea was to draw the attention of government to the plight of the people. And to portray the point, you can understand that even at the heat of that struggle, government officials visited the militants in the creeks, talking about how Jonathan, as the then vice president, visited them in the creeks. You know, Shivanjo, his time as vice president, visited them in the creek. And currently, can you not detail a president or a vice president to go and meet with those bandit leaders like Adaleru, like of course Kashala, like all the bandit leaders? Can you now detail a government official to visit them and come back alive? Because these are people who have no value for the sanctity of human life. These are people who, of course, disallow people with ease, without provocation. So the best bet is for the federal government of Nigeria to synergize with all the other levels of government to acquire monopoly on currency power, to spot them out of their hiding places, set them running, and bring them to justice. That's why personally I feel it's justified to neutralize bandits in the battlefield. It's equally justified to arrest and prosecute them to act as deterrent to others. Of course, that was the position of a former governor of Kaduna State, talking about Mananasi El-Rufai, who echoed it in his time as governor, that bandits do not repent. The best approach to them is to disallow them, send them to their creator, who have the ultimate power to judge them. And I want to say that his position is still very much potent, judging by their modus operandi, because they don't have value for the sanctity of human life. Life you cannot create is not what you should take by yourself recklessly. So for me, the new reasoning in the north, in the middle belt, in the outside communities has actually come to change the political trajectory of the region. And by extension, it's going to alter the political calculation of 2027. Because if Hausas that are more in number, more than any ethnic group, talking about 60 million people are already speaking in this direction, the middle belt are already speaking in this direction. So it's then going to show that the voting pattern of the north will definitely change in 2027. And this is changing. The smarter the two candidates from the south becomes, the better for them, because they are going to be the one that will greatly benefit from this.